What's up guys, Lou here, and I was just driving along and I was thinking about something that I thought was worth sharing, and it's the idea, the concept that a lot of people are not very interested in motion-based gaming. Recently I put a post out on Twitter and on Facebook and I asked people, hey, are you interested in motion-based gaming? Of course I'm talking about like Kinect, PlayStation Move type game systems, the Nintendo Wii U, for example, or the older Wii. These are games where you play with your body and your physical motions rather than a controller. Most people responded with that they could care less about motion gaming, or that it really represents a small part of what they're interested in the gaming world. I have to say I wasn't all that surprised, because in my personal life there are not that many people, not that many of my friends, for example, that are all that interested in motion-based gaming. When people are talking about the hot new game launching, they're basically always talking about traditional controller-based games. I've yet to see a really compelling reason to play motion-based games over controller-based games. So it brought up this question in my mind about what is the future of motion-based gaming? Will it actually become the de facto standard, and what needs to happen in order for motion-based gaming to get better?
Motion-based gaming requires a significant amount more space in your living room, bedroom, or wherever you play games than just a traditional controller setup. And since people are moving into smaller and smaller spaces, I mean, there's lots of 500 square foot condos going in across the city where I live here in Toronto, but I'm sure it's the same situation in New York, San Francisco. A lot of urban areas, people continue to move into smaller spaces. And because of that, it's a little bit more difficult to get that immersive, experience that you would want out of motion-based gaming when you don't have the space to do it, especially if you're playing with somebody else, if it's like a two-player kind of situation where two people are standing up in front of the screen. And you may remember those viral videos a while ago of people throwing Nintendo Wii controllers, through their flat screens, etc. Although that was probably exaggerated a bit, it is a legitimate concern. Most people have enough space where they can have a couch or somewhere to sit with a controller and be completely comfortable, but the moment you have to start moving furniture around in order to immerse yourself in a gaming experience, it's a little bit too much. People just want to hit the power button and start to play. And as people's physical spaces continue to shrink, you have to wonder, does motion-based gaming really need to change so that people can involve themselves in it without the need for all of that extra space, that distance that they need to be away from the camera or whatever it is, whichever device it is that's sensing their location.
And so I wanted to position the question to you guys, since I had already asked on Facebook and Twitter whether or not motion-based gaming was something that people were interested in. I want to ask you guys the same question down in the comment section. Let me know if it really matters to you. Now, obviously, this issue is kind of bubbling up right now because of the fact that the Xbox One has this always-on Kinect sensor, which is staring at you in your living room, and it's been controversial. A lot of people have said, hey, that makes me feel uncomfortable, or I just don't want it, or I don't see the value, etc., etc. So that's part of the reason why I'm positioning this particular video right here. Another question for you guys is, if you could buy an Xbox One without the need for a Kinect sensor at a lower price point, is that something you would do? Would you all of a sudden become an Xbox One buyer if it were closer in price to the PlayStation 4, but without the Kinect sensor? Because if that's the case, if more people would be interested in a lower price point minus the Kinect sensor, you really now have to start to wonder why it would be that Microsoft would make you purchase it, would have to include it as part of the package. Obviously, their interface is sort of based on voice control and gesture commands and things like that, but they could also very easily continue on with controller-based navigation, because it's not really broken. There's nothing really wrong with it at this particular point in time. So that's part of, I think, what's raising the question as far as the controversy is concerned, is why is there no lower end or slightly less expensive Xbox One console that doesn't include the Kinect sensor? Why isn't it a modular system like it was on the previous generation?
there are a number of barriers that motion-based gaming needs to overcome, but the fact that PlayStation, or Sony I should say, hasn't included their motion-based gaming setup, their PlayStation camera, with the PS4, they've gone for the lower price point. There are thoughts that it will hurt motion-based gaming altogether, because now as a developer, there's less, you're less likely to want to develop a motion-based game because you won't have that cross-platform saturation that would come if, say for example, there was that PlayStation camera included with every system and if it was sitting in everybody's house. So from a developer standpoint, there's a little reason to embrace it right now, and they know if they want to make a hit game, the chances of them doing that with a motion-based game is pretty unlikely. So will they pay attention this generation? I tend to think no. I don't think we'll see fantastic motion-based gaming for at least 5 more years. That's just the way it seems to be trending right now, and nobody seems to be talking about it.
Maybe some of the things they want to do are going to take advantage of Kinect in a way that we can't possibly imagine, but I'm just a little bit skeptical, because if nobody really wants it, and if it hasn't really worked to this point, and if the Twitter and Facebook comments, you know, to me personally are as one-sided as they have been when I've polled people, I really have to question how it is that Microsoft, a company of that size, couldn't be paying attention to that particular response and couldn't offer up options, or wouldn't want to, because I personally think they would sell a shitload more units if they maintained the old business structure in which you can purchase a Kinect on the side, add it to your Xbox One, and if you don't want it, you don't end up paying for it.
Those are my thoughts, but the main point of this video was to ask you guys the question, does motion-based gaming matter to you? Let me know down in the comments section below this video. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.